Hello everyone, Boxie Nigma here. Hopefully you there, especially after last week, because after last week, if you followed my picks, we went 5-1. We flipped the script 180 degrees. Last week we went 1-5. We only got the underdog special. Last week 5-1. Missed the underdog special by a field goal, but I do believe this week we are going to come back. I really do, and I think that if we follow along these picks, we have a shot at a perfect week. But don't hold me to it. You never know when you might have a 500 week. You never know when you might have a losing week. And that is the beauty of the NFL. With that being said, let's jump right in to our picks. You know the way we do this. We have our 3 picks. We have our 1 underdog special. We have our Sunday night game. We have our Monday night game. And your 2 games to stay away from. Let's start with my very first pick. And that pick, quite frankly, I know it looks like a sucker bet because sometimes you see bets and you're like, this looks a little too good to be true. Well, if you're asking me, I think Cincinnati Bengals by 3 over Cleveland Browns is too good to be true. But with that being said, that's my first pick. I can't see the Bengals losing to the Browns. Browns, I know they're going to play hard. They played harder and harder each and every week, and they're at home, so you know the dog pound's going to be going nuts. But Cleveland has won 8 straight games against their division. I do not think that's going to change with the Browns. Field goal, give them the field goal. I think that Cincinnati is going to be able to do big things. I expect big things out of Carson Palmer, who has not had a great season so far. But I think he'll shred the Cleveland Browns secondary, and I think that is my first pick. So with my first pick, Cincinnati Bengals by 3. Write it down, take notes, and I think that is going to be your first pick. Our second pick of the week, I got to go with another team that I don't understand the point spread on. Another 3-point favorite, that being the Houston Texans, again on the road against the Oakland Raiders. Raiders are a mess. Let's be honest here. I don't expect much out of the Raiders. Everyone said they were going to have a much better year, and who knows? And all of a sudden, the Chiefs are having a great year. So I don't think that the Raiders are going to be able to do too much against the Texans, who are coming off a tough loss against Dallas. I expect the Texans to bounce back. I'm willing to, take the 3 points there, and Texans by 3. That is my second pick. And as we move right along, I said it last week that I hate betting on the New York Jets. I said I hated being put in that hole where I had no choice but to bet on the Jets or bet on the Jets game because they were playing on Sunday Night Football, and that's how we do here. But this week, again, I'm going to be betting on the New York Jets. I don't really understand the 5-point spread. I understand you're going into Buffalo. Sanchez has remarkably played terrible. One game he got injured, one game he threw 5 picks. I really don't think that's going to happen this time, though. He seems to be connecting more with his receivers. Him and Dustin Keller have been hooking up for more. So with my third pick, Jets by 5, I think they at least get the Bills by a touchdown, even if we are in Buffalo, especially with the fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick's now in at quarterback. He hasn't really found his groove. And even when the Bills played their best last week against New England, they still lost by 8. And the Jets beat New England, just have to be better than them, right? So my third pick, New York Jets by 5 over the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Now, here comes time for our third pick. Our underdog special of the week, if you will. Now, the Atlanta Falcons came off of one of the most historic wins, probably in recent history, last week, going into overtime against New Orleans Saints. This week, they're 7.5 favorites over a 49ers team that has been dreadful in 2 weeks, and 1 week they played pretty well against the Saints. Well, I do think, though, I'm a big fan of the letdown factor. I believe that, sometimes you go in, and after a huge win, the next week you come out and you're playing a crappy team and you just assume you'll sail to victory. Do I think Atlanta will win? Absolutely. But this is gut check time in San Francisco for Mike Singletary. I do think he's going to have them prepared to play. Do I think they'll win? Absolutely not. But I'm willing to give a touchdown. Since it's a 7.5 spread, I'm willing to go with the underdog special of the week, San Francisco 49ers. Like, you could roll your eyes all you please, but I do believe the San Francisco 49ers for the underdog special at 7.5 dogs will be able to come up against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, let's take a look at a couple games to stay away from here. In looking at the games, you're probably immediately going to be assuming that, the Saints will be mad, the Saints will be pissed off, and they'll come up against Carolina and utterly smoke them. And that the 14-point spread that it currently is at is not nearly enough, and that has to be the game you choose. But I'm telling you to stay away, and here's why. The Saints right now have one of the worst rushing defenses in the league. Anybody can run on them. Quite frankly, I could probably run on the New Orleans Saints defense. So, obviously, D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart are a much better tandem than myself. So I think the Panthers are going to keep this relatively close, and I might be able to think maybe you've got a no decision here, or no action, I guess is what it's called. So I say stay away from that game. Sure, the Saints will win that game, but I don't expect a blowout. Many do assume on this one. For my second game, I'm staying away from Indianapolis and Jacksonville. Sure, Peyton Manning's probably going to beat the Jaguars. Jaguars have looked terrible in the first couple weeks of the season. I don't even know how they have a win. However, they always play Indy tough. It's a division game, and they always seem to find a way to keep it tough against Indy and keep it close, I guess. So I stay away from that game. I don't go anywhere near it, and I honestly believe that you just stay away from that one. No reason to get into that game. There's other games to go for. And at the 7.5 favorites, I believe that Indy is in that game. I can see Indy squeaking it out by a touchdown. Stay away. Let's move now into Sunday night. And this has to be the joke of the year. I mean, I'm willing right now to say that if this point spread, if they end up winning, I would be absolutely stunned. What have the New York Giants done to deserve to be a 4-point favorite over anybody in the league, let alone a team that's 3-0 and coming off a huge comeback victory in Green Bay? I mean, against Green Bay. I know they're in Chicago, but against Green Bay. Nothing. Big Blue hasn't done anything. They have one win, a game that wasn't easy, against a terrible Carolina team. They've looked sluggish. They've looked like a team that's falling apart, and they're 4-point favorites over the undefeated Chicago Bears? Nuh-uh. I don't think so. Easily, in my opinion, is this would be one of my picks if it wasn't the Sunday night game. I take the Bears on the road in Giant Stadium. Last week it didn't matter for the Giants being in Giant Stadium. Tennessee looked like a freaking phenomenal against the Giants in Giant Stadium. So what I'm doing is I'm picking the Bears here. Bears are my pick. 4-point underdogs. If the Giants win, they're only going to win by a field goal, in my opinion. So I take the Bears at 4-point dogs over the Giants. Now here's another game I would totally stay away from, the Monday night game. But we got to go for a pick here, right? We got to go for a pick. So what I'm assuming here is you got two teams, two very good teams in the Dolphins and the Patriots. Patriots didn't look great against Buffalo last week. Dolphins surely didn't look great against the Jets last week. So I think the deciding factor here for me is basically just going to be experience. I don't expect the Patriots to fall to the Miami Dolphins. I'm not going based on much here. I know the Dolphins, they are much better. The running game is sick. Devon Best always plays well against the Patriots. And Brandon Marshall's looked like an absolute stud. No homo. But I really do believe that the Patriots are not going to allow the Dolphins to defeat them. I really can't see them losing to the Jets and the Dolphins, even if Miami is at home. So believe it or not, despite going 2-0 on the road and looking very impressive, I expect the Dolphins to fall at home to the New England Patriots and go 2-2 to start the year. And then I think you're really going to see how the AFC East is going to progress. I expect the Jets to finish in first. I expect the Patriots finish in second, still make the playoffs. And I could see the Dolphins kind of falling on the fringe there and maybe falling towards the end of the wild card. I could be wrong, though. Dolphins could come out, could smack me around, and prove that they deserve to be the team to beat in the AFC East. Who knows? That's all I got for you this week. I appreciate all those that tuned in, last week for my picks. Hopefully we can go 5-1 this week, maybe even finally get to that 6-0 mark. And yeah, that's all my picks for this week. That's all the time I have on Boxie Nigma. Later.